Sean,
Hi, Nat.
you made it.
Yeah.
You're here. 38 weeks pregnant with twins. It's a
Yes.
rare occurrence.
I know.
Take it in for a minute.
Yep.
How do you feel about your giant success of the twins? Because it's all them. They're going to take full credit for this.
I know, right?
It's the way that
I
it's
feel
going to be.
good. I feel good, honestly. And I'm just happy because I feel like, the longer I can bake these buns, the better. So that's the goal. And I hope that, I'm very curious about when they do come, like what their height and weight will be, because a lot of that stuff is all estimates now, but I feel like they're getting their best shot just by staying in the womb a little bit longer.
They're doing really good. So, hi guys, I'm Nat from Twiniversity. That's Sean. We've been following her along her twin pregnancy journey. I feel like that word journey is so overused, but I don't even know what to say anymore. That and the word grace. I'm just trying to find grace. I feel like after the babies are born, that's going to be our new drinking game is
Okay.
when anybody says the word grace.
Grace.
We're taking a shot.
I like it. I like it.
I feel this is where I am right now in my universe. 38 weeks in a few days, or 38 weeks today?
Yeah, about 38 and a half. I'll be 39 on Friday.
Dude, that's crazy.
So,
Julie's sending her love to you.
Thank you, Julie.
We and Jewel were talking about you today. I wonder if your ears were ringing. And so our questions are the very first one. On a scale of 1 to 10, how uncomfortable are you?
I'd say like a 5 or a 6. Most of the time I'm not uncomfortable. And that's another reason why I'm like, oh, I probably do have enough, because my doctor is like, I think you're going to go into labor next week. And, this is not my wheelhouse. So I have to kind of go with his medical experience. But I was like, I wonder why he's saying that. But I think about it, and I've heard so many women say they like just feel this like shift, or like everything just becomes unbearable. And they're like, I just want them here. And like, there are moments of being uncomfortable, but like, I don't feel, I'm still relatively mobile and, doing what I can.
So speaking of mobility, what can you still do and what can't you do? Like, have you noticed that your belly is getting in the way of certain things? Or are you like, nah, I don't even notice it?
It gets in the way, but I usually find a way to like maneuver around unless something's really, really low on the floor. Like if I've dropped something on the floor, like bending over is a wrap. Sometimes I try to do like this limbo, like to the side move, which has moderate success. And then sometimes I don't have like finger toes.
Okay.
But
yes.
sometimes if like it's like a tissue, I'll like try to grab it with my feet.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of creative things. Or sometimes I'm just like, hey.
Yeah. And it just lives there now.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, that's where it lives.
Yes. So like it's just gonna be there until I really, really need it.
Yay, I love it. You are such an inspiration, truly. And people are going to watch this, and 80% are going to love you. And then the random extras are going to hate you
Be like,
right now.
Bitch.
They're going to be like, I can't believe her. I just wanted to go 38 weeks. So how does it feel in there? Like, how active are they? Do you feel that maybe because they're bigger, they're moving less? Are they moving more? What's going on? Give us kind of like walk us through the baby's process.
So maybe about 2 weeks ago, I felt like I had a really good sense of their pattern. Like I was kind of like, okay, they're really active then they slow down and they're probably like napping or just resting. And then they're really active again. And then, but the past week, maybe 10 days, I've noticed there are times where I'm like, what are you two still doing up? Like I'm like, you're supposed to be like settling down now, but I can still feel them. I get a lot of alien belly, like heads popping up, shoulders, elbows and stuff. And even when I go to get the sonograms, like the tech is like, they're moving really well. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're trying to find a way. Baby B, who had been head down for 3 weeks in a row, and she's our flip flopper. So like when she was down for 3 straight weeks, she's never been in a position for longer than 2. I was like, oh, we're like in the home stretch.
Yeah.
The past 2 weeks, she's been breech again. And I was like, she must be the most agile baby ever, because I
Yeah.
thought like their heads are so heavy. I was like, she probably can't even turn around now if she wants to. She somehow found a way. So I'll find out this week if she's still breech or not. But like that's been, they're still pretty mobile, and I feel like my stomach is like, a good yard and a half in front of me.
Do you feel ginormous in comparison to last week, or you still feel like I'm cool?
I
Like, do
feel
you feel
about the
like you got
same.
bigger? Feel about the same.
Yeah, I think I've put on a little more weight.
Okay.
I have a little more swelling in the feet and ankles and a little bit in the hands, but not like,
Mm-hmm.
not terribly. So I've been wearing the compression socks more and
Good.
trying to be mindful of just keeping my feet up, or like
Good.
keeping my feet up for longer,
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, guys that are watching right now, give Sean all your big tips, because it's no matter whether she likes it or not, the maximum she's going to have is 3 weeks. I mean, and that's, a 1% situation
Yeah.
going on there. So odds are we forget about the odds. You already spoke to your doctor that you're going past the state. And a lot of times, typically they do want people
Yeah.
to be delivered at this time. However, because of your special situation being that you're very monitored by your doctor, the doctor's very aware of everything that's happening. Your doctor's like, yeah, we could do this. And Sean, that's the other thing. Was there like a real conversation with the doctor? I know that we talked about this before, but for the folks that are joining us for the first time, what was that conversation like initially with your doctor when you're like, this is my goal? How can you help me get there?
Yeah. I think I probably mentioned really early on, I was really focused on just getting to April.
Mhm.
And a lot of that was just like logistically for us, it just becomes a lot easier. It's so crazy how like 3 days difference, but we're almost there, knock on wood.
Mhm.
And so I was saying that quite early on. Like I was
Okay.
like, can I make it to April? You think I can? And he was like, yeah, probably, yeah, probably. And he was like, we'll see where it goes. He's like, twins do come early. I think he said 40% of the time die twins come before 38 weeks or before
Mhm.
37. So he was like, it wouldn't be unusual, but he was like, you're in good shape. Things are progressing well. He's like, we'll see where we land. But he's like, it's not out of the ordinary. And I knew he also was not, he was like, unless something is like, there's like one of the babies is just in distress,
Yeah.
my health is at risk. He was like, I don't do automatic induction at 37 or 38 weeks.
Yeah.
So then after that, I just kind of like every month would be like, still good for April, still good for April. And he'd be like, yeah. And then as we got closer, I was like, well, now we're getting closer to April. How far are you going to like really let me go? And then that's when he was like, I'd like to see you get to 39 weeks. He was like, which would be Friday for me. And he's like, I think you'll get there. He's like, after you hit 39 weeks, he's like, that's when we'll monitor you a little more. And he's like, and it's really going to be about what's best for the three of you. And he was like, so he's like, I might say one day, like, actually, today is going to be the day. He's like, he's not looking, like, he's not proactively like looking to induce me. He's been like, I don't want to say cagey, but like, I was like, would you let me go past my due date? He's like, yeah. And I was like, how far? And he's like, depends, so I think a lot of it depends on like where the estimated weight is, where their health is, like, so I think, and for me, one of the things that he said early on that was kind of illuminating, everyone talks about their due date all the time, but he was like, well, he's like, medically speaking, we call it an EDD, it's an estimated due date. And he's like, it could be off by as much as a week. And he was like, in your case, he was like, I don't think it's a week earlier based on the size. But then once he started talking about that, and I was like, oh, so my due date could really be like April 16th, which would mean like the way I'm counting the weeks are all off by a week, right? Like, then I was like, oh, okay, I could see where he might be like a little more lenient. But I've learned from just the communities I've joined and talking to other women that he's more of an exception rather than the rule. But I also think I've been going to him for years, And he's like, he's one of those doctors where like I can call up before or after my appointment, whatever, if I have questions. And he never makes me feel rushed. He, answers my
Yeah.
questions. He, even if it's like just a sonogram appointment, I always see him afterwards. And he's like, let me check you out. What are your questions? What's on your mind? So I always feel like I'm being heard. And he like, if I, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what that means. He'll break it down and kind of like layman's is like, this is why I don't think you need to worry about that. Was definitely proactive with a lot of specialist stuff, just knowing my medical history, and was like, I want to get this checked. Like even my mom,
Mhm.
who's a retired nurse, was like, I have to admit, he's on it, because she's like, he's having you do stuff that I wouldn't even thought of. And she's my mother. She knows my medical history,
Yeah.
so I feel good in that sense. And I think that's where like finding the right healthcare providers is
Mhm.
really essential. And you have to find someone that kind of like matches your style. Cause I think I'm relatively easygoing, and I'm kind of like, yeah, when it happens, it happens. And I feel like he's kind of got a little bit of that. Like, I think the caveat is, as long as it's medically safe, is he going to let me go like to 42 or 43 weeks? Honestly, I don't think that would even happen, but like probably not, but like, we'll see.
Now, did they ask you to do any at-home monitoring? Like, are you supposed to check your blood pressure or weigh yourself? Nothing. They're just
No,
like,
but
we'll
I
see you
have
when we
been
see
weighing
you.
myself
Okay.
just to be mindful um, of my weight. And like, he had some weight targets for me. So I wanted to make sure like that I was like reasonably within those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think because my vitals have been good this whole time, he hasn't really had me do anything
I'm so in awe. You have no idea. There's
crazy.
definitely, I will tell you the truth. There's definitely like an element of jealousy that I get, like still to this day, 800,000 years later. And
Yeah.
it's not like mean. It's just I'm so excited for you. And if somebody's gonna do it, I love knowing the people that are gonna do it. Like I
Yeah.
love when they're part of our Twiniversity family. I'm just so happy for you. I really am. And you don't know what lied on the other side, but like, it's still your water could break today. By the way, what if your water broke today?
I know. I'd be
What if
like,
your
darn
water
it,
did
so
break
close to
literally
April.
right now? How the heck are you getting to the hospital?
Well, we have a car.
Okay.
So the car seats have passed inspection.
Okay.
Our hospital bags are already in the trunk. So literally all we have to do is get in the
Good.
car and go,
Okay.
and, call the doctor.
Yeah.
My doctor basically was like, if you start having contractions that are 10 minutes apart, give me a call.
Good.
That hasn't happened.
Okay.
And there have actually been a couple times, like when I did the stress test a couple weeks ago, they were like, oh, you had a big contraction. Did you feel that? And I was like, no.
But that's good news.
Yeah.
So
So
at
I
least
was
you're
like,
going in the right direction and the babies aren't like, nah, we're good here forever.
yeah, yeah. So like sometimes my belly will get tight, and I'll like rub it to see if like one of them is trying to like, I feel like sometimes they're trying to like escape the wrong way. Um, and I'm like, nope, that's not one of them. I'm like, oh, it's a contraction. I'm like, let me time this. And then it'll be like,
Good.
I won't have another one for like a day or two. So I'm like, I guess we're like heading in the right direction. So
Good.
I think he's probably right. I think I'm certainly behaving like this is my last full week in the office, and have been like very clear about that, and like
Yeah.
reminding people that I won't be here much longer. We'll see. Oh yeah, and I see someone said she made it to 42.
Yeah, I was just going to tell
Yeah,
you that. So Rachel did. Look, so
that's
she's right.
awesome.
She's your spirit animal. So
Yeah,
there you go. I love those stories, and I love hearing the stories of the people that go to term, because often like doctors won't let you, which is really crazy. Like I could see obviously, and I'm not saying for those of you that are watching that this is what you should do, but there's a lot of doctors who were like, this is what we do. This is how it happens. There's even some super old school doctors that for twins, they say at 30 weeks, we're going to consider putting you on short-term disability and I want you in bed. And you're like, but I'm fine and I could still go swimming. And they're like, nope, this is just what we do. So it's funny how some doctors are like, okay, we're going to pay attention to the patient. And then other doctors are like, we're going to pay attention to statistics. So you're very,
yeah,
very lucky. And Rachel did good too. And for those of you that
yeah,
are watching, like I didn't like that wasn't an issue for us. We knew we had to deliver early because unfortunately I had preeclampsia. But I would have loved, like, I think this is awesome. Did you take
yeah.
10,000 pregnancy pictures? Like now that you have like a moment, do you think you have enough belly pictures?
Yes. I started taking belly pictures. I don't know. I want to say maybe around 20 something weeks,
Okay.
2022, and tried to take them every week. And then we did on our roof deck, we did like some impromptu, like an impromptu maternity photo
Good.
shoot because we were supposed to do real picture, like or professional pictures, but then I was put on limited activity. So I was like, yeah, this is not the time to drive to Queens and, be on
Yeah.
my feet for an hour or two. So we've done that as well. So I think I've got enough. And it's funny, I knew my stomach was big and had gotten bigger, but looking back at even pictures from January, I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't believe that's when I thought my stomach was big and like how much bigger it is now.
Yeah. It's crazy, in our twins week by week, like we have so many belly pictures. And you could act like if you go to each week, you could see some moms that have submitted the pictures each week. And it's so impressive. But I think every time you get to like a new belly milestone, you're like, this is it. I can get bigger than this. And you're like,
Yeah,
I can get bigger
that's
than
how
this.
I think I felt too. Like I was like, oh, it can't get any bigger. And now it's like, I actually even feel like my center of gravity is like different. So I'm like
Yeah.
very like, even when I like get off the couch, I like, scuttle to the front, like make sure I like my knees are at 90 degrees, like, like, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
lift from the legs.
How's your
And a
back
lot of that is
holding
also
up?
because all my weight is in my stomach, like
Yeah, you're going to be like
95% of it.
topsy-turvy. It's tough. It's tough. Your center of gravity is totally changing, and now you turn into like a drinking bird where you're constantly trying to
Yes.
fight the resistance to the ground.
And that's another way I've picked some things up sometimes. Like I'll steady my hand and I'll do that. And I'm like,
You'll
got it.
drinking bird
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Ah, oh, John, you're doing it. I'm so excited. How do you feel like do you feel like crazy empowered that like look what your body just did? Like have you really do you think about that before you go to bed and say to yourself like, "Holy crap, man. Look what you're doing." Like that's all
yeah.
happening still.
I love that question because I think like the human body, especially the female body, is like amazing.
Mm,
I'm using a pregnancy app, the Ovi app that my friend recommended, and like they have all these like, how do you feel today? And the other day I was like, I want to put in magical.
good.
And it's not an option. They have a lot of adjectives, but like I think I ended up going like with content or happy or something like that.
Okay.
But I feel like that's how I felt. Like I just felt like almost like superhuman. Like it's just amazing. It's incredible. And I'm also just really grateful that it's been healthy, no like major aside from limited activity, which like to be honest is like not that at first it was hard because I'm a very active person,
Mhm.
but as I started to be like, okay, well now maybe I'll be better read and like I can stream these shows because who knows when I'll ever turn the TV on again. um and shifting my perspective,
Mhm.
I kind of like made the most of it because it's like when else in your life are you going to get permission to kind of act like the Queen of Sheba, you know what I
That's the
mean? Just
truth.
be like, I'm just going to lay here, bring me some grapes. um
Poor Stanley. I hope he's
yeah.
bringing you grapes.
He is. He's
Okay,
been
good.
fantastic. And sometimes he'll even say, like, actually, over the weekend, um, I made some comment to him about our step ladder. And I was like, oh, yeah, yeah. I was like, I was using it this morning. He's like, why were you on the step ladder? I was like, oh, my tea mug was at the top. And he's like, no. He was like, next time you call me, I'm like, well, you were sleeping. He's like, you can wake me up or
Oh,
you wait. And
see?
I was like, all right. I was like, I'll be more mindful. Like, so I'm very lucky in that sense. And, I think with him, like, cause I feel like a little bit bad about not being able to do like a lot of the like housework.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that's on him right now. And he's like, yeah, but you're doing something I can't. And he's like,
Hey,
and your job is like super
yeah.
important. So
Uh,
I think getting
yeah.
that perspective and having someone like that's like, coaching me, reminding me, like it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I needed the pep talk. I needed to remember. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that as well.
Did you have a discussion with him about maybe like the division of responsibilities when you guys get home from the hospital?
Yeah, we've talked about that a little bit. And I think some of it's going to depend on like what schedule we get the girls on too. So naturally, like one thing that's kind of, I think, going to play in our favor is I'm an early riser and I go to bed early. And
Yeah.
that was pre-pregnancy. I was like that too. So I think there's going to be some stuff that he'll be able to do like So I'll be able to get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, some
Okay.
nights. So I think that's going to be a big one. And I think a lot of it will also depend, I'm hoping to deliver naturally. I know that that might not happen. And I think some of that's going to depend on like how fast or slow my recovery period is as
Yeah.
well. But the good thing is for the first month, we are both on parental leave.
Good.
So we will be able to navigate and kind of like do a lot of that together and sort of figure out what's going to make the most sense.
Okay. I love it. Yeah, you have to keep talking. And then if
Yeah,
there has to be a shift, just because you do something on day 11 doesn't mean it's going to be day 15.
exactly. Set in stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's really tough. And you gotta kind of play it by ear. It's just the good thing that is that you're not going to depend on anybody but him. And I think
Hmm.
sometimes, like pre and post pandemic, when folks are watching this, you might like a lot of people hire help, but I've worked with so many families who've hired help and then the help didn't show. And they were like, well, I was depending on this. Well, you know what? Honestly, the people that you could depend on are you and your
Yep.
partner. And then you got to figure out how it goes. Now,
Yeah.
did you have a discussion that if in the hospital, for whatever reason, the babies or one baby went to the NICU, did you say, like, okay, Stanley, I want you to go with them or I want you to
Yep.
stay with me? How did
Yep.
that go?
Yeah, that's actually on our birth preferences form from our hospital.
Mhm.
So he knows that my preference is like that he go. So neither one of them is alone,
Yeah.
completely alone, because they're obviously
Yeah.
surrounded by nurses and doctors and medical professionals. But hopefully that won't happen. We'll see. That's
Yeah.
like my other thing. I'm like, I hope we all can just go home at the same time. So we'll
I think
see.
you will be. It's going so well, so long. And truthfully, even if the girls did have to go spend like a little bit of time in the NICU, that doesn't mean that they're going to rush them out instantly. Often they might let you stay in there until kind of you're settled. And then when you go off to recovery,
Mhm.
the girls would go off to their section, no matter where it is. Now,
Okay.
Sean, another question with the hospital that you're delivering in, what happens when you go to recovery? Because a lot of hospitals now, I think NYU is a rooming in hospital, right, for babies. So
It
where do
is.
the babies go? Are the babies allowed to be with you in recovery?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, as long as it's medically safe. So
Okay. And
hopefully
then
they'll be with us.
did they tell you, is it a private recovery room now because of COVID, or is it still
It's
like 4 people and is Stanley going to get to be there with you?
Yeah, he'll be
Okay.
there. It's not a private room. They're reserving private rooms for mothers with COVID.
Okay.
However, they have said that they've experienced like a dramatic drop in births, like
Okay.
almost 50%. So they said that in most a lot of times, a lot of women are in non-private rooms, but are in the rooms by themselves.
Hmm.
So we're thinking that that's probably going to be what happens.
Yeah. I was reading about that too. Like there has been a dramatic drop in births, but one of the things that I thought was so interesting is the age range that it dropped was teenagers.
Hmm.
And I know like everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, the birth rate is plummeting." It's not necessarily plummeting where like 40 plus has gone up,
I believe
19
that.
plus or like 21 plus or something has gone super duper duper down. So I was like, all right, maybe this is interesting. It's an interesting time to have babies. And I love that the babies are going to be
For
born.
sure.
I cannot wait. And
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited. And there's a secret dream that I have that we get to do this next week too. Because
Yeah.
I'm floored by you. I really am.
I'm
I'm
deemed.
absolutely
Oh,
amazed by you. And I'm so honored and privileged. Like I don't think you will ever have any idea of how special you are to me.
oh, thank you, Nat.
Because not everybody is generous with their time and their story. A lot of
Yeah.
people want to be, but then can't find the time for one reason or another. You always
Yeah.
find time for us, and by proxy, you're finding time for the world. So I'm very humbled by this whole experience, and I want you to go every week because I just want to know what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to live
Yeah.
through you.
Yeah. No, I think this community, like I said, has been really a lifesaver, especially in the middle of the pandemic where you can't take prenatal yoga classes in person. You can't take a birthing class in person and you're taking it with people all over the country, which is nice, but you're not like meeting like people in the same situation as you, you know, but then it's like this whole community is like nothing but like parents of multiples. So, you
We
know,
like it.
so
If there's secret
it's like if anyone
society,
knows.
yeah, we need a
Yeah,
handshake, teardrops on our eye,
so
tattoos, we need
true.
something. I vote the star tattoos is where I think we should all go.
Nice.
Just so when we're shaking hands, we'll be like, yes, you're one
That's
of
so
us.
funny.
That's it.
That's so
It's our
funny.
secret. It's my little secret society. Well, I cannot wait to talk to you next week.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have more questions today. I'm going to wait to ask them till next week because I think you're going to do it.
Okay.
I do. I want to bet on this. Like, I feel like Vegas should be
I know what's the
on
spread.
when
I
I'm Vegas
know.
comic. What does your
Yeah.
family say? Like, does your family get worried that you're still going, or are they like, you're going to go to 48 weeks? Like, how does your family?
Yeah, not worried, but people are like, wow. Like, even my family, especially if they see pictures of me, they're like, wow.
Well, could we see your belly? I forgot to ask.
Oh yeah. Let me put
I'm the
this
worst.
back. But it's like, but people are like, wow, oh, you're like still pregnant? Still pregnant?
Look, it doesn't even fit in the
In the camera. How
so cute.
there we
John.
go.
Oh my gosh. I was telling somebody about your beautiful gowns today.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do love a caftan. I do. That's been turned into my go-to apparel now that I have like 2 pairs of sweats that fit, and I try to wear those when I go to the doctor.
Yeah, so I was gonna say save those
Yeah.
for everything. You have them. You have clean ones that are packed in the trunk, I hope, or you're gonna have to
Yes.
come home in a maternity dress.
I have maternity leggings and then like pajama pants because I figured I was not going to care too much about how I looked or what I was wearing when we left. So, yeah.
Okay, I will see you next week.
Okay.
Okay, and if for anything happens before then, somebody has to let me know.
Okay.
I have really positive anxiety, as crazy as that sounds. It's not bad. I'm so excited, but I feel like they need some more time. Like they're chilling out and you're chilling out and you get another week of quiet is really what, like, it's for you. Like,
Exactly.
I want you to have that.
Yeah.
What's your big binge watch list for this week?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know yet. I've been watching a lot of March Madness, which is coming to an end very soon. So I don't know what I'm going to pick up.
Do you want to watch like a little crazy something? Like it's
sure.
Okay. So here's something that I just watched. I'm going to give you 2 suggestions for the week. One is not so crazy. It's on Netflix called What Would Sophia Loren Do?
Ooh.
And it's a quick 30-minute documentary about this Italian-American woman, and her children are constantly trying to change her. And so they're like, eat the whole wheat pasta, Ma. And she's like, what would Sophia Loren do? So that was very fascinating. I would watch that quick. And then the other one, oh my gosh, I have to think of the other one. It's on HBO Max, and it's about this woman who is a New Yorker who worked Crazy Not Insane. That is what it's called. Crazy Not Insane. And it's about this woman who is a psychiatrist, I believe. And instead of studying the effects that like a murder had, it's the mind of like, why did somebody do this? And to me, I don't even know how I found it. I was like, oh, let's just watch this. I'm not like a huge serial killer person, but I'm fascinated by any New Yorker story. I think that always that's the hook for me. And I'm telling you, that just got me. And it's a one-timer. So it's not like 87 shows. Because you could only, I would not recommend a new series.
Yeah, it's got to be short movies.
And not even that 4-hour long superhero movie. I would not even get into that. You may not have that time. Go with something tinier. Oh, gosh. Yeah. All right. I like this idea. I'm into it. I will see you Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, either one probably will work for me.
Oh, yeah, girl. Okay.
Yes.
I will see you next week. Sean, you stay put, but for the rest of the universe, that is our girl. I can't wait for these babies to get here. I'm still secretly hoping one of them is named Nat. It's just an idea. I like to keep throwing it out there subliminally. But we will see her next week. And if you would like to follow more of Sean's story, go back to some old videos. We've been with her for a while. She was part of our baby shower. So you could see plenty of Sean. If you do want to meet Stanley, though, you got to go to the baby shower. That's the only time she let him out of his cage. So unfortunately, only once in a while. And until next time, guys, I will see you later, alligators. Have a wonderful day.